Welcome to TelecomTV on tour. We are in Arizona in the United States at the ETSI NFV number 8 meeting. Number 7 went before, number 9 will follow in due course in Prague in the Czech Republic. But at the moment we're in Arizona in the what used to be the Wild West, and I'm talking with Charlie Ashton, who is Director of Business Development with Wind River. Charlie, we haven't met for quite a long time, and you're in a different job now.
That's right.
But you're still in the same discipline, so let's talk about NFV, shall we? What we have seen at the meeting here is the official ending of phase 1 of NFV, the informative stages of it, and we'll move on officially to the beginning of stage 2. First question to you is this: what do you think was achieved during phase 1? Were your perceptions about it correct, do you think, or were your expectations met, and even were they exceeded? And secondly, sort of part 2 to the same question, were there any disappointments or particularly intractable problems that you experienced during phase 1 which will perforce be carried over to phase 2?
So I think there's business aspects to answer your question as well as technical aspects. And I think from a business aspect, when you think about it, it's really quite remarkable that a couple of years ago this group of service providers came together, remembering that many of them are violent competitors in the same geographies, and they realized that the problems they were addressing were so strategic and so intractable that they had to cooperate in order to find a solution that would scale, that could actually address the issues of OPEX reduction as well as top-line revenue growth. So they came together and they focused very heavily on an architecture which would be based around multi-vendor subsystems conforming with open standards as opposed to proprietary fixed function solutions, which has been how telecom infrastructure has been implemented up until now. So I think from a business point of view, the cooperation between the service providers, if nothing else, really validated the importance of this challenge. From a technical point of view, obviously the ETSI group has achieved a lot. They've come up with an architecture for NFV that has been proven out in a lot of cases through some very successful proof of concepts that have been started and in some cases have already been completed. You also asked if there's been any disappointments. I think probably the main open issue coming out of phase 1 from an architecture point of view, probably the most significant open issue was the whole question of management and orchestration, or MANO, where clearly there are some loose ends that need to be tied up, and that's obviously a major focus for phase 2.
So Charlie, phase 2 will be finalised and ratified here at this ETSI NFV number 8 event. What are your hopes and expectations for that next phase?
Well, I guess our hopes and expectations for phase 2 would be that as quickly as possible the group comes together and achieves consensus on an architecture which provides specifications and standards that are detailed enough so that vendors like us can then start to develop solutions with the confidence that our solutions will be fully interoperable with the other vendors' subsystems that we have to connect to and work with.
So over the past months and well into phase 1, there's been a lot of talk about the ability and the agility of NFV, and let's not forget SDN as well, to allow telcos and service providers to compete head-to-head with the infamous OTT players. Is that being borne out, do you think, in terms of current developments and the many proofs of concept that we've already mentioned and are now underway?
Most of the proofs of concept that were started, and in some places I guess were completed in phase 1, they were really designed to prove that concepts that were technically possible were actually feasible, on a practical basis. And when you look at the list of what was accomplished in those POCs, most of them were focused around management and orchestration and infrastructure and some performance analysis. They weren't really focused at the kind of services and applications which really would allow service providers to compete with the OTT players.
So Charlie, what in your opinion do you think will be the key services and the applications that NFV and SDN will allow telcos to launch?
Well, if we think in terms of the key business objectives that the carriers have, the first one obviously is OPEX reduction. And in order to achieve OPEX reduction, you're going to see, the early launch of services like, virtual CPE, virtual EPC, virtual IMS. Those kinds of services should contribute very quickly to significant reductions in OPEX and in network maintenance costs. But really, of course, service providers are very focused on improving their top-line revenue. And that's going to come about through accelerating the rollout and the launch of new services that bring new value to consumers. So I think very quickly after the basic infrastructure services, if you like, are launched, then we're going to see new value-added services starting to be offered. And I think the real key here from the point of view of the customers is going to be, the introduction of contextual services. Because those are the services that carriers can offer that maybe some of the OTT players can't, because they don't have all of the knowledge of what's going on in the network and what's going on with the network traffic. So for example, if there was a service that my carrier knew that I was watching a sporting event and streaming a video, and if they would just automatically, offer me an ultra high definition mode for the duration of that sporting event, I would definitely sign up for it. If there was a service that I'm walking down the street and it'll know that I'm passing a restaurant, that has my favorite wine, maybe I would stop there. But that's a lot more complicated than pure location-based services. It requires a lot more intelligence, and I think over time we're going to see SDN and NFV enabling those kind of contextual services to be offered.
Okay, Charlie, a last question to you is this. How important has your involvement, Wind River's involvement with the ETSI ISG been, and what role do you hope to play going forward?
Well, it's been very important to us because, as a vendor of software solutions in this space, we want to make sure that we're providing products that address real challenges that are important to the service providers, such as carrier-grade reliability for their telecom infrastructure. But at the same time, we want to make sure that our solutions are fully compatible with the standards that are being specified as part of the NFV initiative. And obviously, by being involved in the ETSI working groups, then we're able to get that knowledge and that information about those standards. So we've contributed significantly to several of the working groups during phase one, mainly on topics to do with carrier-grade reliability and infrastructure performance. And we certainly expect to continue contributing that way as we move forward in phase two. But interestingly enough, there are now various open source initiatives that are evolving and starting, all based around the needs of NFV. And so we expect to contribute extensively to those open source initiatives also.
Charlie Ashton, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Martyn. Thank you.